Let's go.
There we go. I mean, it's a Rush of the West Ham Network. Hope you're all safe and well. Got my umbrella, got my brolly on as West Ham take on Brentford. 8 o'clock kickoff in the Premier League, the boycott game. And yeah, I think the weather's going to help Hammers United's cause, I think, to be honest. It is absolutely awful. It's rainy, it's dark, it's cold. If I wasn't working, I wouldn't be here today, in all honesty. I could really fancy, a nice little, cozy inside with a blanket. I'm getting old in the old age, but I hope you're all safe and well. Regardless of your of the boycott or not, there's a game to play today, and there's a game we need to win. Brentford themselves aren't in great form as well, albeit they are sort of set piece kings, so to speak, whereas we're not very good at set pieces. And it's Nuno's first game in charge at London Stadium. So a win is very much needed, particularly in a 2-game week. Playing Spurs, playing Leeds rather on Friday as well. So it's 2 really big games in terms of what we're trying to do in terms of staying in the Premier League. And regardless of, what goes on in the boardroom, being in the Premier League is critical for this club, and we need to start moving away from the bottom of the table. I'm getting bored of looking at the bottom now, so a win today would hopefully start us in our push back up the league. Let's see who we got. I'm gonna go through some comments in a minute. I've only got one set of hands, unfortunately, so the comments will have to take a bit of a back room, backstage while I'm so I get under some sort of canopy of some description. But yes, it's horrible, it's gloomy. But let's see what West Ham brings. We've got a side which, we know they're going to have to do something different potentially. We've obviously Krug out for the foreseeable future. George Earthy obviously being unavailable as well with injury. He'll be back sort of November-ish time, I'd assume. And yeah, whether that means whether it means a start for Callum Wilson, whether it means a start from Callum Marshall, whether it means a start from Callum's, with Lucas Paqueta maybe playing in the striker role. As long as Bowen's not playing in the striker role, I don't really care. I don't like Bowen in the striker role. Obviously, Nuno welcomes back a Thomas Souček to the side for the first time in his West Ham career. So, in terms of Nuno's first time. So, what happens with Souček? Is he put in the side, giving us a little bit of height? Because, if he goes with Wilson, say, Somerville and Bowen, that's probably the shortest front three we've ever had, probably. I mean, Wilson's probably is a giant compared to the other two at 6'2". So it does worry me a little bit in terms of the physicality. And like it or lump it, that's the way the Premier League's going at the moment. It's going for this more direct approach, this more aggressive approach. I'm in the supporter services canopy at the moment, so that'll do. Let's go with some comments. Right, here we got Paul. Hope you're well. Even though I'm not going to the game, I'm hoping for a win. And I'm not. Look, I think everyone, regardless of whether we're going to the game or not, you want to win. You want the team to win because we need to win, and we all back the team, don't we? Regardless. Cyber, hope you're well. Kent, I'm inadvertently be caught in the game tonight. I was going, but not feeling well, to decide to stay home. Well, there we go. And I think a lot of people will probably join you, to be honest, because the rain is absolutely awful today, and it's dark, it's damp. It's a Monday night. It's on the telly. It's easy to find on the telly because it's Sky Sports. If you haven't got a Sky Sports subscription, don't be let ipvanish.com 83% if you download the code which you put on to the starting 11 show a little bit later on. Paul and Stu, hope you're well. Excited for the game. Can't wait to go tonight. Good luck to you. Hope you enjoy the game. Sorry, I should have done it the wrong way around. Do you go home where the train bridge is near Westfield? I don't know, Cyber. I have a terrible feeling of dread this evening. Hope I'm wrong. Let's hope you're wrong too, Cyber. Darren, good evening to you. Sending love to Stuart Pearce. Of course, Stuart Pearce's son, unfortunately, passed away. As a tractor accident or something. Age of, very, very young. Absolutely awful. Barrister won't bring in. No, you can bring this umbrella. You can, but it's collapsible. You can't bring in one of the big golf umbrellas. You can bring in a collapsible one. So I'm okay. I am, and actually, I didn't realise it, but look, I'm sort of coordinated, and it only cost me like £4 off Temu. So it probably won't last by the time I get to where I need to go today. Anyway, so there we go. Jordan says, "Get us the 3 point." I'll try my best, mate. I'll see what I can do. If need be, I'll come on second half, offer something different in the final third. I haven't really got the height, but definitely got the bulk and the physicality. Don't worry about that. Looking forward to today, actually. Looking forward to the game. Looking forward to seeing what a Nuno side looks like at home against a Brentford side, which we should fancy our chances. And I do fancy our chances today. I think, Brentford are in a similar situation, I think, to where we were a few years ago under David Moyes, before post Moyes, they're post Frank, and they still haven't really found their identity and what they want to do. And I think that was our problem since David Moyes left. We haven't had identity. Now, under Moyes, it's not an identity that many people wanted, but it was an identity all the same. I think we'll see a different side. Give it your best 10 minutes, mate. I'll always do. Always do. You'll be better than any strikers we've got in the books, mate. Well, I feel, again, a bit of a spoiler alert for the starting 11 show. I feel he's got to go with Wilson starting today. Just to have that striker up front. But that being said, as I said, I made suggestions that maybe 𝗕𝗥𝗘𝗡𝗧𝗙𝗢𝗥𝗏 could play as a false 9. He's done that before. I'd prefer that than Bowen in the striker role, to be honest. But we shall see it come like 7 o'clock. Cyber is Anton back. We may be doing a watch along tonight. We'll see. But keep an eye on the channel, and if Anton can do it, he will do it. And obviously, with the watch along, with this show, with also the review show, West Ham Network isn't making a single penny from ad revenue from YouTube for these videos. All the money will be going to the Iron Sport and food banks, because as a result of the boycott game, less people are going to be at the game to donate to the food bank. So, less money available for people who are less fortunate than ourselves. So, any super chats, anything that's put in the chat, all that type of stuff will go directly to the food banks, and we're making that donation shortly after. Give it a couple of days, let all the views die down, and then we'll sort that out. Still a fan of the Følkrug signing us, mate. I still like. I mean, look. Yes, I like Følkrug. It's not my fault. It's not my fault. He's injured all the time, is it? When he plays, I think he's all right. But you don't become a German international for being shit, do you? They don't put shit people in. So there you go. Ian says Marshall or Wilson. For me, Marshall's not a striker on his own. He's not a number 9. He's a 10. He's a Craig Bellamy. He plays off the big man, and I think he would struggle today against a Brentford side who are really physical. He's not a particularly. He's a really annoying player. I'd hate to be a defender against him, because he literally doesn't stop running the whole game. He's all over the place. However, you need that sort of ferocity. That ferocity is best suited alongside a front man. So I'm trying to put my umbrella away. So that's why I don't think he'll pick. Yes, he's bigged him up in the. He bigged him up at the press conference. But then again, thinking about it, we also had that many minutes under him, in all honesty. Since Nuno's come in, he's picked Marshall over Wilson in terms of bringing game when he comes off the bench. So I, Although I think the logical thing is to pick Wilson, I think he will pick Ketter in a 10 role, and I think he'll bring Souček in just with a bit of physicality against Brentford because they are very physical. And you got to think with Wilson, Somerville, Bowen, they're not the tallest, they're not the strongest, and I just think you need something else in there just to give you a bit more defensive rigidity. Right, worst performing centre half statistically this season. We're playing 8 games, mate. Colin, Russ, who is starting goal tonight? I hear maybe a recall for Hermansen. I think for me, I think that the putting Areola in goal was an easy decision for Nuno because he just came in and just keep that going. Obviously, he's had the international break with Areola. I've got a feeling that he'll keep with Areola for the time being. But obviously, Nuno was a goalkeeper, wasn't he? So anything's possible. But I wouldn't be surprised if we end up, because he was such a Potter guy in terms of Mads. I think I wouldn't be surprised if he's the first one of the ones that sacrificed in January to fill the coffers for bringing in some extra reinforcement for Nuno. We've got Fabianski as a number 2. If anything, we've probably one keeper too heavy in that position now, maybe in terms of first team keepers. You've got the likes of Heggie still there. Obviously, he hasn't gone out on loan. You've got Finn on loan. You've got Mason on loan. These guys you could always bring back if required to put that third choice goalkeeper slot in. So I wouldn't be surprised if Mads isn't a West Ham player come the end of January. I think there's a couple of players that we need to move on while they still hold value. We're great at moving on players when they're basically at the knackers yard, and that's always been the case with West Ham, which was why we got rid of so many players at one point this season. This is a chance to mould Marshall to number 9. I don't think that's his position, though, mate. I'll be honest, Scott. I think physically, I don't think that's his position. I think he's a 10. I think he plays. He's that sort of. I said I liken him to Craig Bellamy, and Craig Bellamy was never a number 9. In fact, he was brought to play alongside Dean Ashton, but never really got going as much as we liked him would have done. So, I think. I just think he's. It depends in terms of how Nuno wants to set the side up. And I just can't see where that would fit in. To the way Nuno likes to set his teams up tends to be having a focal point, but we haven't got a focal point really. And I don't think Marshall is. I think he'd just get bullied physically by the likes of Collins and people like that in the centre half positions at Brentford. To be honest, that's just my opinion. Of course, does Potter and Lopetegui getting jobs mean we don't have to pay them anymore? Lopetegui's had a job for a long time. He's been at the Qatarian World Cup squad for a while now. In terms of Potter, it's only a temporary basis, so I don't know. That doesn't really affect how much we pay out to them, I believe. We'll always fail to pick the right number 9. It's always been a problem. Yep, agreed. Perhaps he's rapid, and in our defence he can. Yeah, I mean, in terms of, I'm going to just look at this. Whoa, Timu. In terms of the way we're set up, Scott, I agree. We do like pace, but there is, and I think we've got that in abundance. I think, Marshall. I mean, if you're going to bring him on, you bring him on the last 20 minutes, and you put balls over the top of their defence. They're quite big defensively. Turning around, he's going to have a better turn around and off the mark speed. Sure, he's very quick, and he's very good. He's very good at hustling, very good at running at defenders and chasing down. And he'd be an absolute nightmare to defend against. I would hate him because he's always nipping. He's always nipping at your toes. He's always trying to get that toe end away and trying to get the ball. I just from the outset, I just don't think it's the right thing to do. I think you need to utilise these players in the best times. I think I don't have a problem starting with Callum Wilson. Maybe in terms of physicality up front, a little bit. But there's no denying if you give him half a chance, he'll score it. He is lethal, and I think when you've got if you're playing a counter-attacking style, you haven't got a lot of chances. So you need someone who is relatively lethal. That's why I always thought 𝗪𝗘𝗦𝗧 was the best sort of striker for West Ham in terms of that position, particularly under David Moyes. And the fact was he was lethal. He could hold up the ball well. He was quick, and he was strong as well. And he just had all the attributes. Whereas other strikers may have missed a few. He very rarely would miss a sitter. And he was a nasty bastard as well, another nasty bastard. Don't we all? Right, it's raining. Get some more comments quickly. Russ, would you be tempted to play 𝗕𝗥𝗘𝗡𝗧𝗙𝗢𝗥𝗗 up front? Not up front, but I'd be tempted to play 𝗕𝗥𝗘𝗡𝗧𝗙𝗢𝗥𝗗 as a false nine and then play 𝗪𝗥𝗡 in midfield just to give us a bit more physicality. Because he's done that before. He's also played a 10 before. It's not ideal, but Brentford's physicality does worry me. We're a nice side. We're not a nasty side. I want us to be nasty again. I want us to be mean. I want us to be aggressive, and we're not like that. Maybe you could suggest over the last couple of games a little bit more so than we have been. But I wouldn't be tempted to come up front. I'll be potentially even as a false nine and allow the likes of Bowen and some of them around him to feed off any knockdowns. Possibly. Right, here we go. Let's go to this one. Let's go for a few more comments. Not going to be a long time today because it is absolutely pissing down. Budgie says he has more faith in Nuno. Now it's up to you guys, the coach of the club. As I said, I've got two schools of thought about that, Budge. And also, don't forget to check out Budge and Kieran, Old School Hammers, every Wednesday on the West Ham Network. All good content, good fun, and good laugh. Yes, it's good. However, I think it's a cheap option. And I don't think we could have got. I don't think we could either afford Nuno's men, or they wouldn't come to us yet because of the fact we have to pay compensation. So in the interim, I think it's good. I would like them to have kept a couple and brought in a couple of Nuno's men, just so you've got continuity, but also you've got the people he wants around him, people he's used to working with. So we'll have to wait and see what happens further down the line. I would assume that we probably wouldn't, that come next season, he may well have a couple of his men in and around the thing. Right, was hoping for better. Right, let me go through some more. Who comes out for 𝗕𝗥𝗘𝗡𝗧𝗙𝗢𝗥𝗗? In essence, Fulcrum. He's not playing, so there's a spare spot there, isn't there? That's what I've suggested. Glenn, good morning, afternoon to you. How true are these centre forward rumours, Russ? Mate, we don't know. No one knows nothing at the moment. Would never pay for Somerville, so at least Nez will be working hard to play against. Yeah, that's what I mean. And I think 𝗕𝗥𝗘𝗧𝗙𝗢𝗥𝗗 has got. I think in all honesty, there's some types of managers which work at West Ham and some types of managers which don't. And I think in the modern era, I think the more. No, I hate the word pragmatic, but he's used the word pragmatic. But slightly more, I don't think we're particularly well built for a project. I don't think we're a project side. I think, and I think Nuno's probably the right man for the job. Because what we want to do. We've got to steady ourselves. It's almost like we're going back 2 years in the way I see it. Moyes left us on a relatively level hill and a foundation to build upon, and the wrong appointments were made to build upon that. I think Nuno comes in now, whether it's 18 months, 2 years, or whatever, solidifies us again, gets us solid, and then we look at stage 2 and what that stage 2 means. Don't know. We've got the end of this season. Iriola's contract is out at Bournemouth. We've got Marco Silva's contract is out. Whether they decide to make a change there, I don't think they will. But the idea being is it's got this little basis to then work on, which we need, I think. We got here, no being a problem. Shot, yeah, agreed. If Brentford score first, with the their front line and transition with the ball. Yep, I totally agree, Ken. Neil, hope you're well. What kind of club would you like to see if we changed owners? Well, still West Ham, isn't it? Still the badge. I think, for me, it's. I, I, I think I think I was talking to someone about it the other day. I think Europe really not spoiled us. I think we got into Europe, and I think our expectations grew. Yeah, ever since you moved here, we were promised Champions League football. We haven't got that yet, and we haven't. We've had relative success under Moyes. For West Ham it is, and you've got to think. The Champions League is kind of a close shot, really. I mean, Forest under Nuno were very close to qualifying, but fell at the final hurdle. Champions League football is a relative close shop, it seems. They always try and get the greedy six in there. And then you look at what's happening, and then you sort of move down, and our league is probably 6 to 12, maybe. And if we have a good season that season, we top our league or in Europe. If we don't, then we finish top 10. And I think that's where we are at the moment, potentially. I think it would take a hell of a lot of investment to then move into that, break into that top 6. And, whether... I don't know whether we... Don't know. It would take a lot of investment. There's a lot to do in terms of the squad, in terms of making it that way, making it in a situation where you've got two. It's funny. I was looking at our squad from like 97, I think, or 98, and every player on that is, there's a couple of youngsters, but two like Premier League quality players in each league, in each position. It's a fucking good squad there. Right, let's move down a little bit. What we've got here, Russ, is any truth in the Cresswell rumour in for 𝗪𝗪𝗦? The Cresswell someone we've been interested in for the last 12 months, really. And I think his interest is the same as everyone else. There's about half a dozen clubs in for him, to be perfectly honest. And he's not too expensive. I think it's like 15 million quid, which, for technically a homegrown player, is an absolute bargain. So he'll have his pick of club. And I think it'll be interesting to see where he goes to. Obviously, we'll be in the mix, same as everyone else. But I think here he could probably go straight in alongside Tillman, without a shadow of a doubt. One of the most exciting things is that we're getting younger. Not that younger, actually, to be honest. Scott, I think we've gone up from, we were bottom, and now we're like fourth from bottom. Because obviously then we end up bringing back a 39-year-old. I think we'll average about 27, 28, but we are getting younger. It was getting there. But I agree, there's a lot of youngsters, and also anyone who watches the academy knows that obviously I talk wax lyrically about many of those players who are the next sort of generation to come in. And we've got a lot of very, 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 very good players coming through. A lot of very good players coming through. And the conveyor belt is working, in my opinion. And obviously, anyone who's not going to the Leeds game on Friday, under 3-1 play on Friday as well at Rush Green, so I'll be going to that. But there are some very good players there. Pivotal moment was after 𝗪𝗪𝗦. He needs a strong and likable character after 𝗪𝗪𝗦. You're right. Special one. You're right, Damien. And I think maybe if they'd brought in a Nuno type character then, maybe, rather than a complete antithesis, complete opposite in terms of Potter. But I was excited when Potter came in. As I said, I was excited with 𝗪𝗪𝗦. I'm just a very excited person, to be honest. But they posed a good game and talked a good game. But I don't think either 𝗪𝗪𝗦 or Potter had the back catalogue to really back it up. Where I think Nuno has a bit of a back catalogue. He's done it at clubs. He's done it at Wolves. He's done it at Forest. Thursday had a dodgy time. But yeah, I think it's a different type of thing. Right, what have we got here? We don't have a set piece coach. This could be our downfall tonight. It's not just, and Nicky, it's not just in terms of Brentford. Everyone's doing it now. I did a thing the other day about football being boring, and it is. Football is so pragmatic now. It's becoming far more about aggression, about work rate. It's not necessarily technical ability now. It seems you've got long throw plays. You've got, Brentford are typical, where they're doing I call it the touch finder kickoff, where they kick it into the corner, like they do in rugby. Football's changing, and I think in a weird way, we're quite well placed, you know, by having more of a pragmatic style in terms of adapting to that. Budgie, see you later. Take care. Russ, can you go around the ground and huddle the towels yet? I think you're allowed to have the towels if everyone else agrees, if both sides agree. Me, the younger chairman of the league. Sad to hear that. Yeah, Stuart Pearson. Yeah, awful. Damien says I'm talking fact, physicality, and that's. I spent 20 minutes the other day speaking about how boring football is now, and those Mavericks are not in the game anymore now. Anyone with a half decent engine, anyone who's got a bit of bulk in them, will have a decent football career. For them, it is about that sort of athleticism, and unfortunately, something we haven't had for a while. I think maybe under 𝗪𝗪𝗧 is quite an athletic player, and so it's a bit more drive, a bit more energy. So yeah, now I'm going to go in because I'm getting absolutely pelted. Keep an eye on the channel. Don't forget to like, comment, share. Give it a hype. It's a Monday. After this, when it's closed, then give it a hype. I think you can then. And then we'll have the starting 11 show about 6 o'clock-ish. And then we may have the watch along. Wait and see. Keep an eye on the channel for that. And also, we will have the review show. I will be walking around the ground afterwards. As always, just to reiterate, with this live stream, with the live stream at the watch along and the review show, West Ham Network isn't taking any money from ad revenue. It's all going directly to the Iron 42 bank as a consequence of the boycott today as well. But anyway, where you're watching the game, we're all West Ham, as Budgie said, and I'll see you later. Take care, everyone. Much love. Peace out. Motherfuckers.